All right, everyone, welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trade. Today is Thursday, August 25th, 2022. If you're not done so already, give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, hey, not much to say here today. Spider's up 75 basis points on the day. Q's actually up 1% here. But again, none of this really matters in the grand scheme of things, right? We could be up, we could be down today, but Powell says one word and it will change everything tomorrow. So at this point, you know, it's like some of these days, I just wish they would just close the market because none of this really actually even matters here. And it's all about the central banks tomorrow. So we'll see what we get here. Kind of a slow day for the most part. We did bid up a little bit here and we kind of reacted off that 10-minute 200 moving average, and you can see it coincided with the daily 20 MA. But again, you know, Powell says soft landing a few times tomorrow and this will blast right through that. Likewise, if he comes out super hawkish, you know, we sell right down to that 410 area. So I'm seeing a little bit of support here. I still think we need to fill this gap around 410. I don't know if that'll happen tomorrow, but that's going to be your kind of support here in the short term. And if you get through that, it's really around 408 and then that 100 moving average there on the daily. Obviously, resistance here is the red bar high on the daily, which we pierced a little bit today. But 417.23, and then of course obviously the gap fill up here. It's going to be interesting tomorrow because, you know, typically we're used to the FOMC where the meeting is at 2 p.m. and then the press release is at 2 p.m. and the Powell talks at 2:30, and we've seen the market move 10 handles in an hour and a half before, you know, this day here, this day. So but tomorrow he's speaking at 10 a.m. So we got all day to digest that. It'll be very interesting to see how the market reacts. There's plenty of time for a lot of volatility, so be on your toes. And I'm excited for tomorrow because I think it'll present us some good trades at least, and maybe it'll finally mark the end to the kind of this really dull period here. The summer doldrums are coming to a close, and you know, pretty soon we will get close to September where volatility does pick up. So we got to just kind of stay patient right now and sit on our hands here, but at least we'll get some action tomorrow. Outside of that, you know, I don't have a whole lot for you today. I'm just going to kind of go through a few things here. Again, I don't want to make too much out of today and, you know, tell you that something's happening that isn't. But, you know, we had, so Tesla did the split. That's actually getting hit pretty good here. And this still has a really good weekly chart pattern here. So Tesla is holding up really well on the weekly. I like that pattern there for Tesla, but it is getting hit hard. Sell the news, not a surprise. I mean, it's a stock split, you know. The market makers are probably selling calls. We talked about this yesterday, actually. Right here, I said, you know, they were probably selling calls right up in this area, and I bet you that's exactly what they did. And then they even capped it up to that exact area, and I guarantee you they jumped a ton of calls under the retail FOMO. But yeah, nice little fade there on Tesla. Salesforce reported earnings today. That's getting hit, and that is dragging down the industrials. Remember, that is a Dow component. So Dow a little bit on the softer side here today, but Salesforce taking a hit. Snowflake market's behaving very well, giving Snowflake a good response to their earnings. Pretty good volume there and a nice gap and go there for Snowflake. So Snowflake's holding up almost 23% here. And we look at IGV. This doesn't actually make up, it's not an IGV component, but you know, it's kind of hanging in there, even with Salesforce down a little bit. It's kind of a mixed bag here. And then of course we had NVDA yesterday, which I got to be honest, this is actually a pretty bullish candle here for NVIDIA. So you gap down. Obviously, we sold off initially after hours, and then, you know, we gapped down this morning and engulfing reversal there, getting above this high. That's a pretty good candle there for NVIDIA. As for the semis, so I do think there's a good chance we can have another little leg up here in the markets. The question is, do we have, you know, a higher high? Do we just fill this gap and then roll over? So that's kind of going to be kind of what we're looking for. I'll definitely know a little bit more when I see the closing price tomorrow, but in general, I'm kind of leaning towards a little bit of a bullish reaction to the Jackson Hole event. I mean, I can't imagine the Fed really saying anything they're not going to say something that's going to tank the market on a Friday. I just can't imagine that being the case. The market might roll over later, you know, maybe in a few days, but I can't imagine they're going to say something that would actually crash the market. Anyways. So a couple of other sectors that were strong. Financials are strong today. XLF up 1% here. JP Morgan's having a nice day as well, up 1.75. And that is with the yield curve flattening across the board. So every every spread I'm looking at here is red today. Actually, the 30 and 10 just turned flat, but 2s and 10s are red. 10s and 30s, 5s and 30, or 10 month and 3 month and 10 years, excuse me. And 5s and 30s are all in the red. So again, financials continue to kind of defy gravity a little bit here, even with the yield curve kind of flattening out. And, you know, you can see today rates are actually down. So that's, bonds bidding here, just a little bit of an inversion there between rates and, banks essentially. But, we kind of went up into a little bit of resistance here on the TNX, getting a pullback. I still think this can make a higher low here. And same thing with the 30-year here, gapping down a little bit. We'll see what that does later today. And then the 2-year getting hit pretty hard with good volume. So that's why you've got that inversion, because even though the 10-year and 30-year are getting hit, the yield, I should say, are getting hit, the 2-year bond is negative. So that's sort of your dynamic right now. Again, tomorrow could change everything, but right now we're just seeing traders place their bets essentially. Transports, again, let's not make too much out of it. A little bit of an update here, up over 1%. The weekly pattern is okay though. You have a nice move up here and you're kind of inside that candle. So we'll see what that does moving forward. But again, kind of a nothing burger there. Let's look at energy. So crude, got up into that 200 moving average again. We talked about the higher high yesterday. That's kind of your first step here, but that's a pretty good reaction off that 200 moving average. I mean, that's basically an engulfing reversal we're looking at right now, depending on where we close in an hour or two. But that's a pretty good reaction candle there at the moment for spot crude. So we'll see if it gets down into those low 80s here. But again, Jackson Hole is going to move everything. It's going to move crude. It's going to move the dollar. It's going to move all that stuff. So we're just kind of waiting for tomorrow. XLE had a nice day today. Got me up. I told you 85. It got up to 84 and change, 84.24, and then kind of pulled back here. Again, there's not like crazy volume or anything going on. So again, market's just waiting on tomorrow. Let's kind of just leave it at that. OIH got up into that 100 moving average. Like I said yesterday, didn't quite fill the gap, but it pulled back nonetheless. And the light volume, it generally bodes upside, an upside bias, but sometimes it's so light that there's not sellers, but there's not enough buyers either. So it's not like there's really enough buying pressure to push it up. So just when I say light volume bodes upside, yes, it does, but it doesn't always mean that you're gonna surge higher every day. So it works kind of both ways. Anyways, Natty here, nothing burger. Just a little bit of an inside day, still inside of that red bar, but trend is still strong, still up. Dollar index, a little doji candle. This could be starting to flag here, so we'll watch out for that. But again, tomorrow we'll obviously move it one way or the other, and we'll just reevaluate it tomorrow night. And then gold, also hanging in there, trying to put in a higher low. I do like gold here for an advance. Silver, trying to do the same thing, although a little bit softer. Platinum just kind of stuck in a range here, but I do think that's putting in a higher low as well. Palladium with a nice day, up 5.5%. So a nice move for palladium. And I think copper as well has a nice pattern here on the daily and weekly starting to form, but I think it needs to do a little bit more consolidation. But copper is holding up pretty nicely. All right, so lastly, we just go, Bitcoin again. Really nothing to add here. I mean, it's just still an inside bar, still a bearish inside bar. Lots of narrow body candles here. I'm very interested to see what this does tomorrow with the Fed and how that's working. This is in a really weak technical position. Again, kind of like the only positive here, and I've said this a few times this year for a few assets, Bitcoin being one of them, the transports was one at one point. The only positive I see is that it's so negative that it's almost a positive. Like the trade may be starting to get crowded. But I mean, technically, bearish and sidebar breakdown, weekly pattern, and now another one on the daily. So just nothing good here outside of the fact that maybe sentiment is so bad that it could be bullish, especially going into Jackson Hole. So, if everybody's positioned on one side of things going into a major news announcement like that, then the Fed's going to have to be extra hawkish, essentially, to really cause risk assets to continue to fall. And that's the only kind of concern here, before we flip back over to the spiders, that I have with bonds is we've had a nice move up into yields going into the Fed announcement. We did have a little sell-off today here, not much, but it's almost, the trade's almost a little crowded here going into that. So Powell has to be extra hawkish for bond yields to continue to move up here. At least that's the way I see it at the current time. Anyways, let's wrap up here. You know, again, market's kind of just hovering in this range here. We did break out of that tight range we talked about yesterday, so you know it's moving up here. But again, if Powell says the wrong thing tomorrow, this can all be erased in literally minutes. So, and likewise to the upside. I mean, he can, you know, if he says the word soft landing enough times, this market will the algos will feed off of that. So we'll see what we get tomorrow. Watch for the close. Don't get caught up in the initial knee-jerk reaction, and we'll just take it one day at a time here. Anyways, guys, gonna wrap it up here. You guys take care. Have a great rest of your night, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.